Hey, again, welcome to the Climbing Intelligence Agency.
For today's guest will be the El Vikingo.
El Vikingo Siebe Vanhee from Belgium. So Siebe is mostly known for his big wall exploits, multi-pitches, trad climbing, and so on. I mean, he's been trying the Dawn Wall last year, and maybe he'll do that again. We'll see. We'll probably ask him. But it's going to be interesting to dive into his world and hear his thoughts and visions and plans.
Like a life journey.
Exactly. So let's go, right? Here he is. Good morning, Siebe.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Fine. Thank you very much.
Good to see you. Where are you?
I'm at home. Yeah, I'm in Belgium. Yeah.
In Belgium.
For 10 days or something. Yeah.
How much time do you spend there every year?
Not much. 2 months and a half or something in total. Maybe 3.
So you're staying a lot of people there in a big house, or what's the deal?
So my girlfriend is here now, and then we have some friends just hanging over. being here, hanging around. So yeah, it's cool. We have quite a social house, quite nice. But it's basically me and then other friends, and they have since a year now. So I'm in the kids' room now. It's like just a little baby.
So where is it actually, the house? How do you live?
It's in Leuven, near Brussels. I was born here in the city, and quite soon I started like living in a house like this.
So let's get started. First question, the obvious one: why El Vikingo?
Because I have the name Siebe is not really common, and people like definitely in the Spanish speaking people, like in Argentina, Chile, in Spain, they have a hard time saying my name. And I remember on a trip in Chile a long time ago, they're like, "Wow, that's way too hard. I just call you El Vikingo because of the beards. I had this long beards from traveling." And and then one day I just put it on Instagram like this, El Vikingo, and it was actually handy because many people remembered me as El Vikingo. Said, "Oh my God, I'll keep it."
And now you have to keep the beard as well, or?
I mean, it's definitely not as long right now, but I definitely keep the beard, yeah, because of that.
So, like we said, you started climbing quite early, like 8 or 9 years old, right?
Yes,
Something like that, yeah. And you went into competition climbing quite soon, and things went well, and you were on the national team, and then you had an injury back in 2006, and you were off the team. Is that correct?
So I broke my finger. I think that's the injury you're talking about. Like I broke my finger in Interrogation, climbing, just bouldering, just on a boulder trip in Interrogation, and that was the main. Like after that trip, it was really broken. We knew it was broken. It was like the stress fracture, in the joint. Yeah. So So this happened in 2006 or something, and then I couldn't compete anymore in the World Cup, the World Youth Cup. I know the World Championship. Yeah, that was it. And this one actually, that was quite funny because I came home and I really trained for that World Championship by then, and they let me compete that one World Championship, and then I had to like wear like a cast from my fingertips to my elbow because they didn't really, I was not gonna climb. So they really wanted me to not climb. So yeah, they put me in a cast. For like 3 weeks or something. Yeah, 3 weeks and another piece of revalidation without climbing. Yeah.
Okay, so this was not the reason why you sort of took a different path and quit, the competition stuff and went into the outdoor stuff. Nothing to do
No,
with it.
no, no, not really. Because after that injury, um, it was in third third year of high school. I remember I had so much energy and I had my points, my results at school were super good suddenly. Like I was putting all my energy in school because it's also the third year in high school here in Belgium at least. It's quite difficult. Third and fifth year, those are like years that you have to kind of prove yourself. Or I mean, at the time it was like that. And so I put all my energy in studying French, in my math, in English, and all this. Really high scores in the
Yeah.
class, and all the teachers were like, "What the hell happened to Siebe? Like, why is he scoring so well? Why is he doing so well in school right now?" And the main reason was that I was injured, so I couldn't climb so much. So I was like, "Okay, I'll study then." I just needed to do something, and of course, I went fitnessing, and then when the cast went off, I went swimming a lot, and um, didn't like running, so I always was swimming. I don't know why I liked swimming a lot that time. Um, yeah, so that was actually some kind of setback that I had in my climbing, the first big setback, and it's like, wow, it really motivated me to like get stronger. And then soon after, I did my first 8A, my first 8A plus, my first 8B. It was all like in several years. Um, yeah.
So school,
But I kept competition climbing.
yeah, and you kept your grades, like the school grades?
Was okay, was okay. Maybe less outstanding than in the third year, but it was okay. I kept the grades, yeah.
So you had a solid base there that you can build upon. That's good. But so you progressed through the route grades then as well, like and while competition climbing. But at some point you started, you stopped chasing the grades and sport climbing and went into you found tread somehow, right?
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen?
Yeah, so that's yeah, how did that happen actually? Um it's quite funny because um throughout the whole high school for me it was just all about getting stronger, sport climbing and competition climbing. That was the whole thing about. But so I had a trainer, his name was Björn, and he from when I was like 12, 13 years old, he got in our local climbing club and he took over a little bit the climbing club together with two other guys. And they, he was my main trainer. So he started really like accompanying me to like competitions, to climbing gyms. He was the guy who like picked me up at school and we drove straight to the other side of the country to go and try another climbing gym. Like super, super motivated. And it became a really close and very, very good friend. And we went through all this path of like competition climbing and the whole mental process as well. He was an emotional support, a really big emotional support for me. Um, he's also the guy who went talking to my parents when I was 17 years old and said like, "Hey, Siba is better off when he lives on his own," even if I was still in high school. So I moved out when I was 16 and a half or something, 17. I moved out of my parents' house and I went living alone. And then I lived in a house with students that went to university, but I was still in high school. Because he figured that it was better for me to be closer to the climbing gym, to be closer to school and to less traveling, to also spend all my energy in the things that really matter. Um, and also my situation at home wasn't really the best. My father and my mother had a bad relationship, and it was emotionally really wearing, really on me. So he was a really big support, and so Jordan like was a support for a long time until a certain moment, and it's a bit of a sad story. He got cancer. He got like a brain tumor, and which is quite incredible for a young age. Like he was 36 or something, and he had this brain tumor. He recovered from it like quite quick after after a surgery and everything. But they knew quite quick as well, like this is gonna come back. It's really hard to take it all away. And a year after that, I was like 21. Then he died. So he died of cancer. And actually, when he got cancer was like when I was 18, 19, something like that. So when I stopped high school, and it was him that like said like, oh, Steve, you should go and travel a little bit and go to the US after your high school. And um, I was like, oh yeah, but I don't have a climbing partner. And he's like, just go on your own, you'll make it, you're fine, you know. Like, and he really motivated me to go and travel on my own and to go and meet people. And that's actually on this trip, thanks to him and him like supporting me, pushing me to do this. I managed to like just I got in contact with trad climbing in the US. Like I went to Squamish, like to Canada first, to Rifle and Boulder area, and I got into like some 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 trad climbing over there. And then I got back and I planned to study, but it just didn't feel right. So I went again for 7 months this time. I bought a van and I kept on like trad climbing and traveling around and um so actually to answer your question, very long story to answer your question, but
That's
Björn
good.
was really a really important person in my life that supported me a lot. But in the end, I think just his wish or his like motivation to like push me to go and try and travel on my own and go and try other things. He always told me like, oh, you fit great with Sean and Nico, these two Belgian big wall climbers, and you have the same adventurous mindset. And I was like, yeah, I don't know. I'm into competition climbing, and I'm also quite rigid. If I focus my mind on something, I want to do it well. And so it was him who like pulled me out of that. And he's like, go and try it and do some adventurous stuff. So I see, I don't know, I see his influence as one of the biggest drivers for me to go and try something new, which is trad climbing. Yeah.
Do you still feel like that? I mean, is it still an influence on you, would you say?
I think since a few years it's gone. So he died in 2012. So that's already it's already 11 years now. But for a long time, also after he died, I had this kind of like um need or sometimes even a like subconsciously like a pressure on myself. Like I need to like make his wishes come true, you know, like still like
Hmm.
to like keep on being adventurous, and I want to go with Sean and Nico on a big wall. And so for a long time, it was a little bit like I want to do this also. Of course, do it for yourself. Otherwise, if you don't have fun, you don't do it. But like, he was definitely this influence even when he died. After he died, um, yeah, because he was such a important person in my life, like on an emotional level, and then as a trainer, as a support, as a friend. Um, And yeah, I think he had a long time an influence. Maybe now less. Yeah, now less. Maybe now my decisions are more based on, or maybe subconsciously, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Think maybe now my decisions are more based on what I really want. And uh,
So, but then you quit the plastic and competition with that point when you went to Canada. That was it.
yeah, no, it was really like a clear cut. I never competed again afterwards.
And how was it to, like come from the plastic to the thread climbing? It's kind of different, completely different game. So,
Mhm. Yeah, of course, it was not like nowadays the youth is like training on plastic and is just climbing on plastic. And okay, of course, not all the young guys, they're only training on plastic. They sometimes go on a climbing trip outside, but for me, it was really balanced. It was really balanced. I think I didn't devote so much time. If you say professional climbing, professional competition climber, I think I could never call myself a professional competition climber. I've never been. I climbed competitions, but I wouldn't say professionally, compared to all the strong guys who out there who do it now. You know. So for me, the transforming to rock climbing and trad climbing wasn't that big of a change to my former climbing life.
But still, I mean, it's a huge difference between, clipping bolts and placing gear. still. So that must. What was that like the first times to actually? Did you take a course or did someone teach you or how did it work?
No, so it was quite funny. I had no clue about trad climbing, and I was actually going to Squamish for bouldering. That was the main idea. I was gonna go bouldering, um, and I'll trad climbing and a multi-pitch. So Jordan we talked about it, and I'm like, I'm curious. I might try it, and I need someone to teach me. But of course, you go bouldering on your own. Squamish is very easy to find climbing partners. There's so many people, and those boulders, a lot of them trad climb as well. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I would like to try some crab climbing. So some German guy who lives in US right now, he took me out. It was this real core climber, and he took me out on this multi pitch, and I remember him teaching me how to jam and everything. And it took so long to learn, and I got my ass kicked so bad, but it went well. It went quite well. And he showed me how to place the guns and everything. So it's really this one guy who taught me how to thread climb.
And did he also tell you, about ethics and values with trad climbing? What's good style? What's bad style? That kind of thing, or did it come later?
Hmm. Not that I remember, honestly.
Yeah.
I think it all came later, and I think it's something that you you get it from the climbing community and from climbing with different people and seeing different styles. So I think I slowly got it that way. Um, what I did, I mean, just to give you an example of how it was for me the first time on a big wall with him, it's like every second or third pitch, I arrive and I am climbing and I arrive at like 2 meters before the anchor, and I smell something really strong. And I'm like, ah, what's that? What's that smell? I'm like, oh, it's marijuana. So every like three pitches, he was like smoking, and then I had a close look, and I'm like, huh, he doesn't have a joint or something or whatever. And he just used the biggest nut, like the biggest nut, and he put some marijuana in one side of the nut, and he holded it, and then he lit it. He lit the marijuana, and he blew through the other side. So this is how we smoked this marijuana on the multi pitch every 3 pitches. Pretty funny. And I'm like, okay, this is trot climbing.
This is how you do it.
This is how you do it. Yeah.
And after that, you never look back.
Yeah. And after that, you don't look. No. So then actually I went climbing with him more and more on instead of myself smoking marijuana on the pitch, because I mean, I did smoke marijuana over there, and that's definitely not while climbing. 'Cause I would go like completely gone. I fall asleep actually. It's not very handy in the middle of a wall. So actually, the next times when I was like climbing and I tried to place my own gear, when I learned how to trot climb and everything, how to lead, I every time I was like, oh, there's the nut again. That smells like marijuana, like it's on the back full of nuts. Try to avoid that one.
By the way, like those first trips, how did you support yourself in terms of money?
Yeah, good question. So my parents, they're definitely not rich. They're also not poor. I would say middle class. And I mean, I never in my life, I never had like a lack of money, in the sense of like I could always do more or less what I wanted. Like if it's like traveling wise, and it didn't came always from my parents, because when I was 18, so in the summers before, and I mean the summer before I climbed, before I was 18, but then I started to work a little bit and save some money as well during the year, and then with that money I made my first trip. And then my second trip, I completely paid myself, the one of 7 months. I think I had 7,000 euros on my bank account before I left. So 1,000 euros per month, more or less, for that trip afterwards. And I worked as a stage builder to build stages, podiums, podias for what was it again? Some concerts, but also for like scenes, for filming scenes and stuff like that. For movie making, and I did that 4 or 5 months. Then I left again. I did another job as well. I did so much shitty shit. Was in a store as well. Everything I could find because I knew I needed to go and climb again, you know. So that was actually, it was a really nice period because it was just all about working hard and being able to like go and climb hard again. And do a big trip.
This time, were you sort of like a household name in the Belgian climbing community? Like, did things you did? Did you get any recognition for that at home? But like,
Yeah. So people, since I was 12 years old, I got like the sponsorship from Petzl and Bale was before they were together, or like they had some kind of corporation. Definitely in Belgium, like was the same agency and stuff, so they gave me some stuff. I had 510 as well. And then when I left on I think on my first or second trip to the US, I had Peak Performance. It's this like
Swedish.
fancy ski. Yeah, it might be Swedish. Yeah,
Swedish,
yeah. It's a fancy ski brand, outdoor brand like this. It's not so big right now, but so I had this sponsorship, but it was all material. It was never money or something. And if I talk about being renowned, yes, from when I was 13, 14, I kept winning all the Belgian youth championships and all the youth comps. So they kind of knew me. All the strong climbers, they came from the French part of Belgium or from Brussels, and then I was the one Flemish guy, you know, the one from the north. And when I was a kid, they called me actually Le Petit Chapeau, and Le Petit Chapeau means the small, Le Petit Bob, and it's the small hat, because I was always wearing this fisherman's hat. Super lame. Like, I have no clue why, but I thought it was beautiful or fancy. And I had always this fisherman's hat, and I did all my competitions with that little hat.
Okay.
So they called me Le Petit Bob or Le Petit Chapeau. And because also my name was too complicated for them. So so they started knowing me, and then I did quite quick like this. When I was 14, I did my first 8A, 8A plus. When I was 15, I did 8B and 8B plus. No, 8B plus when I was 16, and 8C when I was 17. So it went really quick, and like every summer I did another grade, more or less. So yeah, people in the Belgian climbing scene and definitely the outdoor scene, they started to know me. So yeah, and then actually I had a blog, like what was it called? Blogspot.com or something.
Yeah.
At the same, like a lame blog, and I wrote on it, but like every 2 or 3 days, and so many people read it, and like I got so many comments on it, and it was crazy. Like from all my experience, my trad climbing experience, my new experience, and through the whole process, it was actually quite nice, and I think many people followed it, and it was really good for my sponsors as well.
Is it still out there? Can you still find it, you think?
We have it. I archived it online. I think you cannot find it anymore, but I archived it. I think I have like the name or something. I can still get to it, but it's not open or something.
Okay.
But it's quite it's quite funny. And actually, I keep everything. I keep everything in my files as well. So I have everything in Word, I think, as well.
So when you switched to more like adventurous trad climbing and stuff, were there people in the Belgian community who were like, no, come on, Siebe, you should pursue sport climbing, competitions, climb harder grades, is going so well for you, that kind of thing?
Not at all, actually. Yeah. And sometimes I think this is funny, but maybe I wish someone would have said that, or would have like said like, hey, like it's super cool, but you're young, and like maybe it's good to like keep training and pushing the grade, see until where you can get in sport climbing and how hard you can climb. Because and that's a bit the comment the comment or the advice I always give. I mean, unless if you don't have any pleasure with sport climbing and bouldering and everything, then you should just go do adventurous stuff and do cool stuff. But yeah, for me personally, sometimes I wouldn't say I regret it, but sometimes I'm like, "Ah, shit, if I would have pushed through a little bit longer, like until I was 25 or something, with sport climbing and bouldering, maybe my base grade would be I would be my base
Yeah.
grade would be a little bit higher, you know. I would be able to climb 8C fluently every time I try 8C or something. I don't know, or 8C plus. Yeah, this would be something I definitely advise. I think climbing or training for competition, you learn so much. You learn so much to deal with failure. You learn so much to deal with competition. Of course, like with competition between persons, then I'm not talking about the concept of competition climbing, but like just competition between climbers and individuals. You learn how to compare yourself in a positive way, compare and not compare yourself in a negative way. And you get just pure physically. I think it's such a good base. You get such a good baseline for afterwards to build on for rock climbing.
Did you lost motivation to climb hard at that point, or it was naturally because you went, to that more adventurous life, and then you couldn't do both?
Yeah, I think I lost motivation at that time. I think I just wanted something else, and I'm also someone who likes to change a lot, and like I like all the disciplines of climbing a lot, and I really enjoy sport climbing for a few months, and then I want to like tread climb, build a pitch. I want to do stuff like in Boersland. I want to go bouldering. Um, so I think there was a moment that I lost motivation for sport climbing. I remember coming back from that 7-month trip, and I was like, where are the cracks? I'm gonna do all the cracks in Europe, you know? And I looked it up, and I'm like, okay, Orco, Val di Mello, I need to go to Chamonix in the summer. Okay, Boosland is out there. Like, name it, you know? I wanted to find all the good cracks, crack climbs, and I only wanted to do tread climbing, never clipping bolts anymore. Like, that was really my mindset. It was crazy. And now it's quite funny to realize that I was so radical, like, no, no sport climbing anymore. That's for pussies, I would say. But yeah, of course
So
it's not.
yeah.
But
So it's like one thing at a time, really, for you. It's like if it's competition, it's competition. If it's trad, it's trad. If it's crack, it's crack. No, if or what do you want? I don't know. But nowadays you sort of switch a little bit between them. I saw you were. I mean, you went sport climbing now and then, and pushed it up to 9A sport climb. But when you're in like sport climbing mode, do you feel the urge to really push that, or is it just between trips?
no, no. Since a few years, it's not just sport climbing for sport climbing. It's really just with the objective of pushing my grades and getting stronger, and also trying to transform it to the bigger walls. That's been my main drive in the last years. Um, I think between 2012 and 2018, I did a lot of these expeditions and trips and more adventurous stuff. And my grade was my basic level was quite low. Um, and every time after an expedition, it took me a long time to recover and to get strong again. And I would train in the sense of like, yeah, I climb a lot, but I wouldn't say it was like specific good training with an objective. Um, and I had fun. It was super nice, and I did a lot of really cool stuff. Went like twice on an expedition to Greenland, to Siberia once, to Madagascar, to Venezuela in 2012 the first time, to Patagonia. Had so many really cool trips, really cool experiences, but there was really something missing, and that was like just the personal satisfaction of like performing and getting better. knowing that you're climbing towards something as well. And yeah, and maybe it has to do with my environment, or that I got in contact with people that got stronger or whatever. But yeah, I had this kind of feeling of like, shit, I'm like missing out here. I need to like, I can train and get stronger again. And then actually I set myself the goal to climb to climb 80 plus multi-pitch. That was the main goal. I want to do a multi-pitch like Siebe Vanhee, the one in Radcon, for example, or 8C even, like, or Bayou. Those were like, okay, maybe I need to set myself these goals. And if I want to do that, I'm not going to be getting stronger climbing multi-pitches. I'm going to have to sport climb. I'm going to have to train. But there was always this little like, need for adventure as well. So I told myself, okay, that's your main goal, but like, let's try to do one trad climbing trip per year, single pitch, and one trad climbing trip, like multi-pitch per year, where you open a new route or something. But if you make the calculation already, I mean, a year is only 12 months. A trad climbing trip, multi-pitch, like opening something might take a month. Another one might take another month. I mean, you can try to do everything, but I tried it, but it didn't work. So then in 2019, 2020, I started really just to focus on the harder multi-pitches and training. And this really for me was like, was like the best thing I could do, to just focus again on one thing instead of like wanting to do everything and put it all in a year. Yeah.
So did you train then on your own, or did you find some new coach, or?
I trained on my own a few times, and then from like a few years, and then from 2020, no, 2019, sorry, I started with a Belgian guy, a Belgian coach. He's a real strong boulder. Started with him, and during the COVID period as well, I trained a little bit with his training schedules. And then now, since a few months, since 8 months, I climb with lattice. I train with lattice training.
Okay. So your goal now is still to push your limits in terms of hard, long multi-pitches, right? That's one of the goals at least. And you climb the 8C multi-pitch. You're working on how do you try the dawn wall thing? To climb, like, could you say something generally, like, to climb an 8C multi-pitch, what level do you have to have in sort of sport climbing, and does it help to go down to Spain and climb steep sport routes for these generally less steep multi-pitches?
Super interesting question. I think so. First of all, like, it's always with training. If you want to train for Burden of Dreams, I mean, what you have to do is find the same angle, same type of hold, same type of moves. Like, try to really, how do you say it? Imitate the style and the angle. Make replicas, like as much as possible, looking like your project. So of course, big roofs and really steep tufa climbing is not going to work for a route like Siebe Vanhee. For me, that's difficult. On the other hand, an all-around fitness, you create this kind of overhangs as well, and all-around fitness, you can definitely train on this kind of stuff. For me, it's funny because I have two good friends, James Pearson and Caroline Chiavallini. They always say, like, Steven, it's so crazy how your maximum level in sport climbing is almost equal to your maximum level in a multi-pitch. You climb as hard on multi-pitches as you do on sport climbing, and in trad it's a little bit the same. I think I can climb very close to my maximum level on trad as I do on sport, and it's really funny. But I kind of really enjoy when there is a lot of external factors in the game that you don't control and where you have to fight against. And in sport climbing, there's not so much external factors. It's a lot about yourself. It's like almost the ideal conditions. There's no fear of falling. There is no loose rock. There is no crazy weather that can change. There's no pressure of the weather. Yeah, of course, there is. You can go 1 month to let's say Suze or to Margadef or wherever, and it can suddenly rain 2 or 3 weeks out of the 1 month. I don't know if you want good conditions, you go early and you have a bad month, but it's not as crazy as on a multi pitch where it can stay wet for a long time, where the weather can change really quick in the Alps. There's the thunderstorms in the afternoon in August that come in. Like all this kind of stuff is. There are external factors, loose rock, dirty pitches, all this kind of stuff makes me even more psyched and more concentrated, or bad protection or whatever. It makes me even more concentrated on the goal in front of me, and makes me enter into a state of flow a little bit more easy. In sport climbing, I can be distracted too quick about fear of failure. Am I doing this well? Am I doing that well? And I think that's one of the reasons that in multi-pitches, I can push myself really, really hard, or on tread climbs as well.
Is this something you had from the start, or is it something you learned? You think?
I was scared when I was starting tread climb, and definitely the adventurous stuff. I remember my first adventurous climbs with Sean in Patagonia in 2012. I was so scared so quickly, like, oh no, I just lose. So I don't think I had it from the start. Now it's some kind of like, I don't know, I embrace it, and yeah, it's maybe experience, I think. Yeah.
Also a question. No, sorry.
But you are still scared sometimes, right? Probably. You do some.
Yeah.
How do you deal it? How do you deal with the fear, of falling or dying or injuring yourself?
Oh, it's a super good question. It's still hard. I still have a hard time answering it always. How do I deal with it? It's something I don't do as conscious. And I'm trying to like discover why, because many people ask me. But for example, in Boersland now, like what I really enjoy is this game of like finding your like your pieces of gear, where you have to put the pieces of gear on one side, and you don't know which kind of move you're gonna do, you're gonna hold. Do you commit for it or not? I think it's some kind of desire to just want to reach the top and want to succeed as well. That is at times stronger than the fear of falling. Of course, this is dangerous because then you can do stupid stuff as well. But how do I deal with this fear? It's in a multi-pitch, an adventurous multi-pitch. It's quite obvious. There, I kind of really just climb and feel how let's see how I feel. Most of the time, if you feel in control and you're climbing below your level, you place less protection. You're running more run outs. If there's bad protection, you're more comfortable. Like the higher your basic level, like the more comfortable you are, because you're not gonna fall. And it's same with like a solo. Like I mean, people solo. Most of the people solo below their level because they just know there's very little chance of falling. Of course, there's a lot of unknown factors as well as loose rock or slippery rock or wet rock.
So that's when you're actually climbing in on the wall. But how about before? Do you do any special preparation, exercises or whatever to get in that mode, or is it just let's go?
Yeah, I have kind of a checklist, and the checklist is quite personal. Like, how do I feel on these moves? For example, if there's a big difference between on-site and red point. If you tried it on top rope something and you're gonna have to lead it afterwards, then you just check, how do I feel? How is the protection? Where can I fall? Where can't I fall? You know, if you're on site, I just try to be very honest with myself. I think that's one of the things I always say to myself before I leave. Like, okay, you go for it. You're gonna fucking fight. You want this. Keep on going. And you dare to take risks in the sense of like risking to commit for a move, commit falling, but try to really make a difference between rational fear and irrational fear, you know, and then fear of falling, and like try to build in times that you assess the situation. For me, that's really important. So if I have a clear view and feeling of myself being capable of doing so, sometimes it depends on the route. If I see the route and I see like, okay, it's really dangerous, really high up there. It looks like really bad protection. Okay, I'll see the first 10 meters how I feel, and I can still bail. If there's a moment of a chance of bailing, it really helps to lower the commitment a little bit. You know, you should make sure that you're also not just postponing the decision. You know, you should feel good from the start. It's always this hard balance between I'm gonna fucking commit and okay, if I want, I can bail, you know, like, and it's always this really delicate balance, because if you always have bailing in mind, yeah, then you're never committing. If you're always committing in mind, then you might take unnecessary risks. So it's a very, very thin line between what do I give more importance on right now at this moment, and how do I know I'm ready? How do I prepare for fear? Because I'm so bad in really giving a concise answer. That's why it's good we're doing a podcast.
Yeah. But is there also, you know, outside pressure? Like when you come to Bohuslän, for example, oh no, Siebe Vanhee is here. I mean, people expect you to do stuff or something. Like, is that difficult to deal with sometimes, or?
I think the pressure I put myself is still always higher than anyone else will be able to put on myself. I put myself a lot of pressure at some moments. So it's mainly a personal struggle if I feel pressure. But for sure, when I came to Bohuslän, it was like, okay, I'm gonna fucking use every minute of my trip. Like, if my skin's bad, I want to check out moves. I want to check out protection in certain routes. If suddenly the weather changes, I want to be flexible enough to drive to another area to go and send that I tried before. Like I really have to be on it. Like, and sometimes my girlfriend or friends around me are getting a bit annoyed because I suddenly change objectives or change my mind like completely, because it makes more sense for me at that moment. I'm like, wait, we're here. It's way too warm. I was gonna do that route. It's way too warm, but we have to go there. That's a better place now, and I can probably send it. And like, okay, I feel good enough for an on-site try. Okay, I'll do it. I'll do that. I'm gonna leave that project behind. I like want to take, and I'm always calculating the days ahead. You know, okay, then it's get better. Then it's get better. I'm a lot on my phone, looking at my agenda and at the weather forecast, seeing what I can do when. So yeah, I think the pressure of myself that I put myself with most of the time a lot higher than the pressure people will put me. Definitely in Bohuslän, because people were impressed really quick. And I was,
Well,
no, I want to do more. I want to do more.
about Bohuslän, since we have a couple of questions about it, what was your impression? How would it compare to other places in terms of quality and, you know, style?
So first of all, I think, yeah, when you said quality, the rock quality is incredible. The rock quality is really, really good. Like, also it's very solid. If there is something a bigger flake or something that you think it's loose, it's actually not loose. It's just very strong rock, very solid rock. Protection is quite easy to place, in the sense of like the cracks are clean. It's not like limestone, weird cracks or some kind of granite. You also have like, you have to fiddle in nuts in a weird way. The cracks are always quite clean, and so protection is quite easy to place, I would say. Then, what makes Boozland really, really attractive to me personally is the big amount of protected tread climbs, like hard protected tread climbs. Like it's not always pure cracks. It's also more British UK style. It's a little higher than the typical gridstone. You know, it's not just 10 meters. Sometimes in the grids you have like 10-meter line. Here you can have a 20-meter line that is like in British style climbing. With British style climbing, I mean not a perfect splitter, but just a bit of protection, 3 meters of run out, a bit of protection, 7 meters of run out, and it follows a lot of like the natural lines as well in Boozland. You have like um a little bit of dihedral that goes into like a pipe, a little bit of a pipe, like this kind of stuff. Like it's really, really cool climbing. And I think what I like the most about like single pitch tread is it's not especially the crux. It's really this kind of climbing that you have to like sometimes face climb. You have your gear somewhere very low, and then you're just like face climbing. You're doing so many moves without clipping anything. It's like, for me, that's that's what I like. I love it so much.
So you enjoy it more actually if the protection is worse.
I wouldn't say if it's worse, but of course, if there is a bit of a run out, I definitely enjoy it. I think the protection shouldn't be bad, but like, of course, here as well, I make my assessment. I see if the fall is okay or not, like if it would be a fine fall, um, or not. If it's really a horrible fall, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm. Yeah, when do you enjoy it? Type 2 fun, maybe, I don't know.
So did you about falls and stuff? Did you have any close calls or bad falls
No,
throughout your
not
career
at all.
now? Never?
No. In my whole life,
Yeah, yeah.
al- also not really. Huh? Maybe that's why. Maybe I should take a really scary whipper once. I've seen people fall really sketchy. I've had
Mhm.
really close calls with people I was with. And that's definitely, I mean, that's definitely really scary. I had a friend in Patagonia. We were doing a first free ascent of an older route. In Patagonia, have an 8 line, and his name is Max. He's a Chilean climber, very strong, and he went into the wrong dihedral with really shitty rock, and we were free climbing, and he already said like, "Ah, it's too hard to free climb. The rock's really bad. I'm gonna eat this up, and then we'll check it out." I'm like, okay, yeah, up to you. It's your lead. But I couldn't see him anymore. He was like 20, 25 meters high, but I couldn't see him anymore. And suddenly, in an 8th move, he falls, and almost all his grips, up to a point, he falls next to me on a ledge, upside down, and he was perfectly fine. He had not a single problem, but it was the scariest fall I've ever seen. He fell so long. He fell the full 25 meters until where the rock was good again, and that piece of gear hold him. So for me, like this kind of things, of course, they're shocking, and I mean, but for example, a fall like that, I've never had. I've ripped gear, and yeah, it's been scary, and made a fall of 15 meters once, but like it's never been like, oh, a close call here, or
What's your opinion about bolting actually? Like the bolting big walls and stuff. Who is the right to decide, if you can bolt it or if you just have to use your gear? For me personally,
if I open a new line, I try to first of all look at the lines around me. That's the first priority. I can look like what are the line, in which style are the lines around me opened already. So when you go open in the whole of Europe, there's always been someone before you. So then I just look, how did they do it? Which style did they use? Is it logical? Is there a big culture behind it? What are the learnings you can take out if you climb in this kind of style? Are they important? For example, tread climbing on limestone in Monterey or in the Dolomites. It's not always solid rock. It's tricky, but it's really adventurous. And it's part of the climbing culture, the local climbing culture. So I always try to respect that. If I open a new line there, that I want to do it in the same style. If you go to a completely new place and you have a virgin wall, then I also just try to not bolt anything, and to do it as much as possible on tread gear. Also, the anchors, I really like it that when the anchors are just when you have to build them yourself. There's a lot to say about that, because then if you want someone to repeat it, it's nice that there's anchors that they can rappel as well. You know that there's also, if they make a rappel, they don't put extra nuts and pitons and an extra little cordlet and an extra sling, and then it becomes messy and it's garbage for on the mountain. So I agree with that, but I like the style of not having the bolts.
Yeah, clean as possible then. So, like,
Yeah,
not
for me, as clean as possible is
okay.
It's really something I like, and I like to really protect the style as well, because it's also part of the adventure style, and sometimes the fact that you make it as clean as possible, yeah, it makes that you cannot always choose the lines that are very, very, very hard, but they're hard because of the protection, you know, or placing the protection. And this is just a different style. I mean, if you want to do a hard sport climb, then yeah, it's a whole other experience for me, because I really like multi-pitch sport as well. Really enjoy it.
So about first one question. People sometimes say that the trad grades are harder than the sport grades. Like trad HC should be harder than sport HC. Do you agree with that? I mean, in terms of climbing, that is, more stiffer grades.
No, I don't agree. You know, I think the trad grades should be the same as the sport grades, um, physically, and like doing the moves. And I mean, there's lots of discussion about that, but like for me personally, if I'm gonna grade, a good example, notes from Regalo de Mono, this multi-pitch, the big wall in Torres del Paine, that Sean, Nico, and we climbed this free in 2017. It took us 19 days to climb the whole thing. We were 19 days on the wall. And there you have pitch 13, which is an 8A. We graded it 8A. For us, we try to imagine that pitch in a sport climb somewhere in Sierrana or something. You know, what grade would it be? Okay, 8A, and we give it 8A.
Right.
Even if there is some nuts to play, sometimes you really have a very, very, very technical and hard placement. This might add to the grade, but I try to avoid that. And also the fact that the weather is bad, that it's cold and everything. I don't want to try to take that into account while grading. I really like to take it separate. Then it's more objective, I think, but I don't know.
So it's for movement then, which you grade.
Yes. I look at the movements, the technicality of the routes, the endurance of the routes, and these are the basics for grading. Yeah.
But if would be this route like in 6,000-meter altitude, you would grade it still same? Because...
Yeah. Then
okay.
Yeah.
It's just that it's harder to climb an 8A and 6,000 meter than sea level.
For sure. Because if you then start grading it 8B or 8C, but the technical grade is 8A, like how do you know how to prepare for this? How do you know what kind of moves how hard the moves are gonna be? I don't know. For me, it's like I really want to keep it like, okay, this route is at 6,000 meters. For example, in the Karakorum, there's still so much stuff to free climb there on the Great Triangle. if you have these pitches from the Norwegian route on the Great Triangle, for example, and you take them again to sea level, how hard will they be? This for me is always the little game I'll try in my head. It's very hard,
it,
of course, but
yeah,
like
it must be very hard to imagine that, if you can breathe and you say no, it's easy move actually. So
yeah.
yeah,
It's really difficult. I think grading in general is already a very difficult game because of
sure.
style, of strengths and weaknesses and everything. But I think when you're a more experienced climber, you start to know your strengths, weaknesses, style, also with the eye, and then doing the moves, even if you're out of breath and if you're very tired or if it's very cold, you can kind of um, judge which kind of grade it could be, I think. Of course, this is when I'm talking about like 8A, 8 plus 8B. Maybe when it's 9A, then for me it might start to get harder because it's my maximum level. Yeah.
Mhm.
So if it's below my level, it's probably easier than when it's on my limit.
So speaking about 9A, instantly takes us to Dawnwall.
Yeah.
Yep, you tried Dawnwall last year, was it?
Yeah, that
2022,
was
right? What was your first impression when you got there? Was it what you expected?
It was harder. It was definitely
Yeah.
harder than I expected. Yeah. It's funny because normally I'm quite noble in the sense of like, I'm very weak, or it's like it's gonna be way above my head or whatever. And then with this, of course I knew it was gonna be above my head, but I still thought I would be able to do more or better. Uh, Um, First of all, just getting up our rope. So we tried it ground up. That's also something I really like to stick with. Like the first time I jump on a route, I want to try it ground up as well for a personal challenge as well. So not just wrapping in and checking the moves or fixing lines and climbing on top rope, but like ground up, climbing as much as possible. If we can't, we just pull on the gear and then we check out the moves a bit. Just getting up the rope in every pitch was really hard. I think in general it took us 4 or 5 days, um, over a week time or 8 days time, I think. Yeah, it's not easy because the protection is not as great. I mean, and that's what I really appreciate about the downhaul as well, because it's still very pure. There's no bolts added. There's places where you think a bolt would be beautiful, or there's an old rivet. Why wouldn't you replace it with a beautiful bolt here? But then
Mhm.
it's not the same. So you just use a rivet hanger. I don't know if you. So a rivet is some kind of like bolt that's sticking out where you can hang a little metal cable on to clip. So this is mainly the protection, the cruxes of the whole diamond. These kind of
Wow.
protections. Of course, the traverses are bolted. I don't know. No, wait, not all of it is bolted on the traverse, of course. Now I'm wondering who bolted it. I'm not sure if it was Tommy or if it was a climber before him that passed there. Because it's part of an old aid climb, and there were old rivets as well that have been replaced with bolts before. So
Yeah, I guess it's parts of several climbs, or is it? I mean, that he pieced together, or
yeah.
the whole thing.
So
Yeah.
Downwell mainly follows one line, and that line is an aid line called Mescalito. So almost up to the crux pitches, it's almost all Mescalito except for 5 pitches or something in the beginning. It takes a different diagonal line, but then the rest is all Mescalito, and then after it traverses, it's different 8 climbs
Hmm.
that mixes up.
And what about the style of the climbing? I mean, did you climb a lot in Yosemite before, so you were used to the style, or is it very different to other routes anyway?
No, I would say that was so the style is of course it's the same as all the other Yosemite climbs. To find a real Yosemite style big wall or multi-pitch in Europe, it's very hard. I don't think you'll find much like it. Maybe in Orco, the Calido, or sorry, in Val di Mello, the Calido. It's a bigger wall, granite wall. Can't really think of any others, but yeah. So exactly, Björn, what you say is really makes a lot of sense. Like I wasn't really prepared enough for the downwall, I think, in this kind of style. I think it's really, really important to do a lot of this El Cap routes before jumping on the downwall. And this is what I thought about in my preparation for the next years. Because yeah, I haven't done it in this call yet, but on this podcast yet. But I'm gonna go back. I'm also preparing for the downwall right now. And first, I thought maybe I make a trip just to do other routes on El Cap. But honestly, it doesn't make any sense. I think it makes sense to just approach the downwall not as a downwall, but just as a climb, and maybe aim for just sending the pitch separately, pitch all the pitches separately in one trip, and then go back and try to link it all. Because otherwise it's a bit of a waste of time. If I would live there, maybe I would do that. I would maybe climb other lines first and I go back. But I don't live there and need to always travel there, so it makes more sense to just attack the downwall.
Specifically, I mean the crux pitch is number 14, right? The traverse, or do you say it's something else?
No,
yes,
it's 14.
14, yeah. And I mean, we know it's a traverse. We know it's super hard and it's racers basically, right? Do you like this pitch?
Yeah,
nice pitch.
Yeah, it's a nice pitch. It's really magical. It's crazy how you can hold on to these holds. I mean, in the beginning we were like, it took us so long to discover the moves, and that's what makes it so cool. Like it's really subtle hip movements, like strengthen your leg to pull on a certain foothold, or a really straight movement in the shoulder to be able to really be very, very close to the wall and move your body out left before you get next hold. Like it's so subtle. And I would say it's traverse. It's only 12 meters long, so it's very short, and it exists out of three boulder problems. The first boulder problem, I think it's like the second hardest. For me, the last boulder problem is the hardest, but it's more of a feeling thing. I think when you get it, you can pass by. You can do it almost all the time. That first boulder problem, it's really a feeling thing. The second boulder problem, so the first is around 7C-ish, I think 7C plus maybe. The second is around 7B plus 7C, and the last is again 7C 7C plus, I'd say. So these three boulders make it 9A. I think the grade is quite correct. Of course, who am I to say so? Because I haven't done so many 9As. I've only done one, so it's hard to say. But from what I hear from Tommy and Kevin and Seb as well, I think they all agree on that grade more or less. I don't know what Adam said about it. Grade wise,
those boulder grades are of course hard, and this style is very, small holds balancy, but it's still, reasonable grades. It's not like 8B, 8C boulders. What makes it so difficult to connect these three boulders and send the pitch?
The intensity on your feet, and the staying, like doing this kind of style boulder one after the other with almost no rest. There is a rest before the last one, but it's also not so. I mean, it's okay actually, but it's what mainly makes it difficult is you need to keep your tension in your feet and your toes, and your body position has to be so precise that with a slight mistake you're off. And that's what makes it so difficult, I think, like to be able to do the last moves still really, really how they have to be done. You cannot fight. You cannot fight in this kind of route. I mean, it's very hard. It's the only fight you do is mentally. It's like, okay, I stay on, and you go, like it's, and okay, you keep the tension, and you go to the next move. And it's not just like, okay, now no, I give it all and I punch it like, and that doesn't work.
No.
It's cool. Yeah, and that
Um,
makes it so difficult.
few weeks ago, we spoke with Adam as well about the downwall, and he said Tommy and he as well, he used the painkillers to reduce the pain in the climbing shoes. What about you?
Ah, yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he went so small in climbing shoes that it was so painful. Well, I tried always smaller and smaller. It's painful when you wear the shoes for a long time. So when you put a lot of pressure
Mhm.
on the toes. So for example, in that crux pitch, you do the first two boulders and then still being able to fight the pain and pull really hard on that foothold. That's really difficult. I can imagine actually. Can you take painkillers? Yeah,
But you didn't.
I didn't know. No.
Did you
So
use different kind of shoes on the wall, or just
I mainly
So-
tried the katanas and the katakis, and I tried the TC Pros as well. But the TC Pro only works for pitch 15 because it's less pulling sideways. It's only like standing downwards. And for that, a really rigid shoe is quite nice. So you have a lot of support, and it's a long pitch as well. So so your feet get less tired by the end. But for pitch 14, for example, I can't use the TC Pros. It feels too stiff. For a few moves, I have to really pull harder or push sideways a bit.
So what's worse, the pain in your fingers or the feet when you climb this pitch?
Well, for me, it was the fingers, though. Yeah, I think fingers definitely, they're definitely the most painful because of I have the splits, and just like fighting through, and even if you don't have a split, being able to give it all without being scared of splitting your fingers, because you know very well it's not just the pain. You don't care about the pain if you're something where you're like, if I'm not 100% right climbing, I don't want to have a split, you know. If you know that you can send it, then maybe you pull through. You're not, and so it's always this balance, like how hard do I pull? So I think the key is to know the move so well that it goes effortless, and that's what Tommy also did. Like he climbed it really effortless when he sent it. He set his first go on the push. So I think that's key. Knowing the move so well, like having your body to remember all the moves and all the positioning. So you don't have to pull so hard on these fingertips. Of course, you always have to pull, but yeah, for me, when I'm fighting too much, then I have a split. Yeah, and it has a lot of consequences on a big wall.
So
like that.
So is there any way to really prepare yourself for this pitch? I mean, does it help when it's actually more about subtle movement and balance? Does it help to, do a lot of fingerboarding or hanging on, tiny four middle edges or whatever?
I think definitely the finger strength. The more precise you can grab a hold with a lot of strength, the less quick that you're gonna have a cut. If you're like not so strong and one finger is pushing more on the hold than the other, you're gonna go through that finger. So if all your fingers are equally strong and they work together, and the weight is really divided over all the fingers, it's gonna be less likely to have a hole in your finger. So I think fingerboarding is still very valuable, and getting really strong fingers, being able to take them as well in full crimp as in semi crimp, according to the hold, is also very important, I think.
But you're not building a replica of the whole thing.
I've been really thinking about it.
Yeah.
I really think about it, actually, definitely about that crux pitch. That would be amazing. I don't need a big wall for that, I built something 12 meters here in my garden, and I fucking train pitch 14 here in my garden in Belgium, Oh, it's only 12 meters. It's a traverse. It's perfect. It doesn't even go up. If I don't do it this year, I'll make a replica. I make sure to take good pictures, take the measurements and everything. think I need to contact Aiden and the guys from that is to see how they all did this.
Yeah.
No, and then another question you asked, how to prepare for this. I think for me, if it's all about balancing and it's like positioning, bouldering on granite. That's key. Bouldering on granite, vertical stuff. Like I think that's key for preparation. Knowing how to use your feet as well, as much as possible. Climbing technical, hard boulders, and maybe even training the toes. Yeah, training the toes by walking the stairs on your big toes. The other days I'm trying now the training with a towel and weights. So I put a towel on the ground. I put some weights, for example, 10 kilo, like kettlebell of 10 kilo. I put it at the end, and then I crimp and I take these, and so I put my foot on the other side of the towel, and I like take down, bring the towel with the weight towards me, like a cat, like, and trying to get it towards me. And this is something I'm trying out. Not 100% convinced if that gonna work. I think it's better to like walk up the stairs on your big toes or something. I think this will definitely help.
When are you going there next time? Do you know?
In November. Yeah, I'll go in November. Definitely see a little bit with the weather how it is, but maybe up to half of October, maybe already. We'll see how the weather looks.
Do you have a partner already, or?
Yes, I'm probably going with a Belgian, with a Belgian. What did I say? With a British guy, Franco Cookson.
Oh, okay.
He's a young, crazy single pitch truck climber. He's like ripping apart all these scary climbs, and he actually called me like spontaneously, like, "Hey man, if you're ever going back, give me a call. I'd be psyched to just being dragged up a big wall like that," because he never climbed a big wall before, so it's gonna be very interesting, I think.
Are you sure that's the kind of guy you want with you? Crazy.
No, I'm not sure, but I think it's fine. I think he's fun. I met him once. He's a fun guy. That's very important. He's a good climber as well, technically. I mean, for me, the most important thing is there's someone. I mean, just someone for belaying. I wouldn't like that. There's someone climbing with me, and it's very hard to find someone like that. And of course, I would definitely prefer to go with Seb again, but this year he doesn't want to go. And I think he's strong enough to do it in his next go anyway. So, in his next trip. So if we go, we're planning to go the year afterwards, so 2024, again in fall and probably in the spring of 2025. I know it's very far away, but
Yeah.
like this is the idea, to do something like this, to go with him then for like several months, like 5 to 6 months even. And to have like two full windows, two full seasons next to each other, and then we have like stress. We can like make a trip towards Bishop, go bouldering a little bit, take a good rest, come back, and we're also more flexible with the weather then. So yes, yeah, and it takes off a lot of stress knowing that I'll go back.
Yeah, and also he needs to find a new crew for his sailboat, right?
Yeah, he's gonna go by boat, of course, again. And I might probably join him as well by boat, and then we make a very big trip out of that. But I thought I was thinking about it. That like maybe I shouldn't fly there for this year already. But for me personally, if I really want to set myself the goal to do that route, I think the best way for me to do so.
So you do like lots. You do multi-pitch climbing. You do sports climbing, bouldering. What's your favorite style in climbing? What do you like? And other question: what do you hate?
Yes. So what I like in climbing mostly, what really gets me psyched is the endurance long climbs. Endurance climbing, like doing much of routes in a row. I love that, being in a crack and doing lots of climbing, on-site climbing, and also and then if you go if we go back to Boozland, you know, like the subject of Boozland, I love this stuff. I really like the game of like trying to onside a hard threat climb. Not a perfect crack, but something that might be a bit challenging for protection, finding protection and everything. I know it gets me really, like I said before, it gets me really easy into a flow. Really enjoy this. And if we're done talking about real style of climbing, yeah, I would say slightly overhanging, crimpy endurance climbing. I really like this the most. What I hate, I forgot about the question. Yeah, what I hate is I don't really hate any other kind of climbing, but I'm definitely not so good in pockets climbing on pockets. I have a hard time in Margalef, for example. I climb a full grade below that on my maximum. It's my maximum grade. I cannot. Yeah, it's a real big difference actually in strength, and it's something I'm. It's a big weakness climbing on pockets. I'm kind of working on it for sure. I have also very fat fingers, so quite often I don't fit the pockets, and
Mhm.
I met enough climbers with really fat fingers and very strong on pockets, so I don't have any excuse. So
Do you have an explanation why there are so many extremely good Belgian climbers?
I mean, I'm not shy, or my ego is not so big to not give them the credits. I'm 100% sure Sean and Nico are the pioneers of Belgian big wall climbing. You know, Sean and Nico Favres, like they are they have a really good energy, really positive, super motivated, and they're not scared in trying things they can't do. They're just tried. You know, I remember they they had done free rider, and then they went to Patagonia trying riders on the storm. I mean, it's absurd. It's really crazy what they did, but just this energy, I think it transforms on a lot of Belgians, and it gives Belgians quite a bit of a proud Belgian climbers. And in general, Belgians, we are not so proud of ourselves. We're not like the Dutch or the French or something that are quite proud of themselves. And I think we can be a little bit more. And I think like having like these strong idols in climbing makes us a little bit proud, and also we copy their behavior a little bit, and then add to it as well. I think I added to it, or I have my own. I'm definitely not as Sean and Nico, but have my own way of approaching certain things. I think Seb added a lot to it as well. He took in he combined the professional climbing a lot, like and pushing the limits a lot with what they have, like the big wall climbing and the good vibes. So I think we all add to it a little bit, and it's like a virus, you know, and we all push each other, and there's a lot of bullshitting, and there's a lot of like pulling each other's leg, and this is what I really appreciate on the Belgian climbing culture. And it's also not mega serious, you know. I think there's always room for good parties, always room for just hanging out and having fun, and I think that's so key for climbing, yeah, and for keeping motivated and dreaming big.
What's your hardest threat on site?
My hardest threat on site. I know that was Flash. I did Gaia. I did Flash. Yeah, it's hard to say. The threat, it's difficult. Like 7C plus 8A, I guess.
Mhm.
And the most difficult?
Most difficult threat climb is it's sometimes hard to say. I would say Orbaio, but it's also not a threat climb because there's some bolts in there. Origin shot, the E9 in or E10, depends. In Peak District was definitely one of my hardest.
Did you find it more difficult than Le Voyage?
Yes.
Yeah.
I Le Voyage for me was more of a spool climb. The threat aspect was not so great, so big, I think, in this kind of line. Le Voyage was it was hard, but yeah, it was okay. I did it quite quick. I think I top it 3 or 4 times, and then 4 times, and then I gave it a lead go, and then I did it. Yeah, it was harder. I don't know. Barger shot is like maybe 8 plus climbing wise, but it's technically hard and it's really
Yeah.
scary. You cannot fall in the crux, and that's where you're tending. where you often would fall in a crux, you know. So that's what
Yeah.
makes it really scary and very, very intense. But like the climbing wise, it's only 80 plus. So maybe Voyage, yeah.
But that's what I meant by difficult, like because you have the hardest grade, but sometimes something else is more difficult for you. I mean,
Yeah, that's the subject we talked about before, and that's why it's hard for me to like say like 'cause I think Voyage felt a little bit like A B plus maybe, but then the protection and everything is quite fine. Well, definitely if you try it at first on top rope, then it's really not that big of a deal. I mean, if you have some experience in placing gear and everything, then it goes quite well, you know. You need to know how to, I mean, I wouldn't say any 80 sport climber can just quickly do it, then this person will probably say, fuck yeah, this is hard, and placing gear and everything. But compared to other trad climbs, I think it's quite fine, quite accessible.
are you keen on trying the what's that called? The Bon Voyage, the harder?
Yeah, looks amazing. Yeah, really, really. It was really cool. Actually, I doubted going there before going to Woosland, because it was actually still quite good temps and everything. But then we left the Woosland because it was a long drive and we wanted to get there. But yeah, definitely want to go and try it out once. Yeah, looks intense. Looks really nice as well. Like the trad climbing wise, it looks like you make a big fall, but it's perfectly fine, safe. Just hard to
Actually,
see it because it's traverse.
yeah, yeah. Actually, can you do whatever you want? Like, in terms of, I mean, you're a sponsored climber. Can you choose exactly what you do, or are there obligations or demands from your sponsors? Do you need to go and do this, film or video, or
No, no. I think there's the advantage about a outdoor professional climber, I'd say. And there's no obligations whatsoever in like what kind of things you do. But there's always this like no obligations, and receiving money from a sponsor comes with a lot of expectations as well. I mean, they expect from you that you come up with cool projects that have a lot of impact, that are pushing the sport up to certain grades. It doesn't always have to be pushing the sports, or that are meaningful for the
Mm.
climbing community. So for me, it's always a balance in finding what I want and what I want to do. And ideally, the gap between what I want and what a sponsor expects is as small as possible. There's no gap. That would be great. And that's why you have to find sponsors that are convenient and that are at the same level with yourself, you know, that are really understanding your values, that are having showing respect for your values, because they have more or less the same values or even the same. But sometimes you have to kind of search and have to kind of balance between, okay, I want to go and do this, I want to be out there and have adventure and be autonomous. But then if you want to have impact and you want to show a story, you have to have a camera guy with you. You need to film, you need to do interviews here. But I'm like, that's not the experience I was searching. I actually want to be autonomous and out there in the middle of nowhere, connecting with my climbing partners. So it's always this balance between like, what do I really want to, what am I really searching for in climbing and in my projects? And what do I want to communicate, and how do we want to have impact on the climbing community? If it's just about hard projecting and hard climbing, or is it more about ethics? Is it more about climbing culture in the sense of the climbing community? Is it about environmental change? Like you have to like choose a bit your battles, I think.
But you are 100% professional climber now. That's your only job.
So I can live from climbing now. I'm never gonna be rich. That's not the goal either. But like I think I can live from climbing quite comfortably, and but it's funny. It's been a really big investment. There were years that I had like so little money, and I had my sponsors, but I could not really fully live. But I didn't have expenses. I wasn't renting a place. I had just my very old van that I bought for 2,400 euros. I was just traveling with that one. My expenses were very low, so I didn't need much. And then all the extra big trips were covered by sponsors. because they were projects for a sponsor. And when I say project for a sponsor, it's a project I propose and I found money for. You know. So yeah, I'm living from climbing full time right now. But since 2020, I started coaching as well. Nothing to do with climbing. But in this consultancy world, we call it coaching as well, or trainer or training. I work for a company that gives or that organizes leadership seminars for other companies in the corporate world.
Do you use your experience as a climber?
Yeah, so I do use stories and storytelling to talk about certain concepts in leadership, in working together. We mainly use the outdoor to give. We use the outdoor as a mirror. We take people outside, bring them into the forests, give them really difficult exercises. Of course, they're not like team building exercises. It's more cognitive and directional. It's about communication a lot. And after an exercise like that, I give feedback on their behavior, on their habits, on their mindset. Were they really effective or not as a team? And quite often, all these concepts about leadership and communication, we present it a little bit, and I present it from my background as a climber. So it becomes a bit more personal and more easy to deal with and more interesting as well to listen to. It's not just a dry concept or theory. So I do this now, but I don't do it so much. I do it like 10 weeks per year or something. And a week is only 3 days of seminar. So I try to do it not too much because of climbing, of course. I wanna keep climbing. Yeah.
Your employer is flexible in terms of when you can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, actually, they have so much work that I just give my weeks and then they book it. So that's quite nice.
Perfect.
The thing, yeah, it's the dream job as well. It's really, really nice. But I never really started doing it for extra money or something. I really started doing it because I told myself from 2019 that I always wanted to do something else next to climbing. But it could be linked to climbing, but I wanted to so for example, in 2019, I did a public speaking course, like to give TED Talks. In the end, I never gave a real TED Talk, but like I do a lot of speeching and everything. And so I did a real course and it was really nice. And I mean, I just see it as self-development and developing myself and other capabilities I have, that I can also maybe use in climbing. So, and then 2020, I came bumped into that job and I'm like, wow, this is cool. I'm gonna go and observe and see if it's something for me. And yeah, I really started liking it, so I continued.
Sounds like a business that's kind of good money as well.
Yeah, it's good. It's good money, but I don't charge so much.
Yeah.
It's yeah, I just do it. I mean, of course, I charge the price that they suggest and everything. I have no clue about all that stuff. So for me, the most important thing and is I'm a social worker. As an education, I studied social work from 2012 to 2016, and the reason I started social work is to understand a little bit better the society, how things go, and also the communication between people. We work a lot on everything that's interactional, and yeah, for me it was a bit missing in my life as a climber. I'm like, I want to work with a group of people where I am not that important, because as a climber somehow, as a professional climber, it's all about myself. All the climbing trips, it's about my goals. It's about a climbing trip, an expedition. I mean, even if you go on an expedition with 4 people, it's suddenly your goal. It's like you're very much in your own little world, and I really enjoy these weeks that I work for this company that I can just put myself aside and I can just focus on the process of someone else and focus on the development of someone else, and this for me is super nice to have as a change with climbing.
You're a professional climber, like you said. You're part of podcasts, videos, films, lots of things. Do you consume a lot of climbing yourself? Like, do you watch a lot of YouTubers or influencers and you scroll Instagram 20 times a day and watch all the new climbing movies coming out. Do you watch World Cups?
Yeah, you're gonna laugh now, but it's I don't actually. I really don't watch much climbing or consume much climbing. I do more right now. Definitely the period between 2012 and 2018, the period where I was mostly into adventurous climbing, expeditions. I, I had no clue who were the strong competition climbers from Belgium. I had no clue. Well, of course, yeah, I knew a little bit, but I didn't know their results at all times. Um, I had really little interest, and I also realized that it was an ego problem. It was just a thing of like not wanting to see what others were doing because I didn't want to compare myself with them. So I wasn't really consuming climbing so much. While now I'm getting older and I'm starting to know how I work, and while now I know a little bit better, and I'm trying to be honest with myself that I can learn a lot from those people. If I'm not like challenged or comparing myself, I can learn so much. So what now I do actually scroll a bit more on Instagram and I check out the news and I'm a little bit more up to date with what's going on. If there's a new movie, I'll try to see it, like, but it's definitely not a natural thing. I'm not on the internet naturally in the morning and the evening checking out things, or I'm not like super excited when this new movie comes out from someone. But like, yeah, it's quite funny. But there was even a time I obliged myself. This is so funny, to do half an hour of Instagram every day, and not my Instagram, just like checking Instagram. Like while people do like, oh, I can only do half an hour and not more, and then I have to block the app and whatever. I'm like, I had an alarm, Instagram. I had to watch Instagram because I was a bad professional climber. I was like, shit, I'm a professional climber. It's my job. I put so much content into this climbing community and I'm not even watching it. I don't know what my co-professional climbers are doing, like what are they doing? What are they busy with? Maybe I can get ideas. And so like, you should check it out and start following those profiles. Of course, I think that took like a month or two or something. And then I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. I just do it when I want. But I kind of find a better balance now in like, okay, let's check out these climbers. What are they doing?
That's actually super funny because it's totally, like I said, it's totally the opposite of all the rest of the people. There's said so many good things and so much content here, speaking of which,
Yeah, it's so much fun, yeah.
Yeah, so much fun. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was really great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you again.
Ciao.
Bye.